Jim Eskin, founder of Eskin Fundraising Training, and it's my privilege and pleasure to welcome you to really our first webcast being taped in collaboration with TVSA, San Antonio's public access station. In particular, we have to recognize Frank and Leon Burns for their expert assistance with everything production and technical. This program will be broadcast to TVSA's audience, and we're also very proud to make it available via Zoom to our growing learning community of professional and volunteer leaders composed of CEOs, executive directors, directors of development, other staff, board members, donors, and other friends of the magnificent nonprofit community that every day touches, improves, and saves more lives. We appreciate your leadership, your service, and your passion to champion good works. We need to make it clear at the outset that this is not like an interactive webinar, and during this program, you will not have the opportunity to share questions and comments. But we are confident that you will find there is much to learn that will benefit your nonprofit during this discussion with a distinguished subject matter expert. The topic is holiday parties on all budgets. You know, there are many good reasons for your nonprofit to host a party during this festive season. Bringing together staff, board, volunteers, donors, and other friends who make it possible for your mission to move forward. And you can express gratitude, stimulate conversation, spread cheer, and as well as reinforce key organizational messages. We all know from personal experience that profound relationships and opportunities come out of social settings and holiday parties, and they should and be placed at the top of your priority list. We are delighted to bring back as our subject matter expert someone I know well, Dona Liston, who's the owner of Lambermont Events, and whose dynamic career, if I can add it right, spans 30 years and over 1,000 events.
Way over, yep.
Okay, I can't tell by your wrinkles, okay? And she provides strong leadership in the event management industry. She can provide sound advice and counsel on how you can put smiles on faces, get the most bang for your buck, and regardless of your gathering, budget, or revenue, Dona has been a subject matter expert on helping your organization. She's actually participated in 4 of our live or webinar programs, and so I want to congratulate you. You are the first fifth-time guest. Thank you. And Andrea and I have had the pleasure of watching Dona in action, and we can say she's nothing short of amazing. Now, this is the format we're going to use for this program. We have prepared a series of questions that are designed to benefit nonprofits of all different sizes and representing all different organizations. Dona, welcome back.
Thank you.
And thank you for the most precious gift of all, your time and your wisdom and experience and personal insights on event management and sharing this all with our learning community partners of nonprofit leaders. Quite simply, we don't know anyone on the planet who knows more about theory and practice of successful event management. So how about we begin our discussion?
Come on.
Okay, let me start with a real rough question. How's the Liston family doing?
Doing absolutely wonderful. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, there's, one question on my mind, and I moved it in sort of late in our preparation for this show. They say that doctors make the worst patients because they know too much. As a premier event planner, do you find yourself overly critical when attending parties and events as a guest because you just flat know too much?
You know, Jim, it's really easy to walk in and be critical. And I try very hard not to do that because everybody, yeah, everybody has their thing. So, when I go in, of course I'm going to see things that I would have done different, but I also have to know it's not my party. I'm not doing it. My hardest thing is to not jump in and start working. That's my hardest.
I want to invite you to more of our parties.
Yeah, I'd be back in the kitchen cleaning up because something went wrong there. But yeah, that's been my hardest thing, is to sit and actually relax and enjoy a party, because I'm always on that work mode.
Do you think you're noticing things that other guests are just blind to?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're doing your job well, the guests don't know what was prepared or what was planned. So many times, so what? If you forgot to put something out, nobody missed it. No, it's okay, move on. Whereas an event planner, you might have noticed, oh, wait a minute, why wasn't that there? Or why was it this happening? But you just got to be, you've got to give grace. Not everybody's been in the industry over 30 years. We all have to learn. And, especially in the nonprofit world, we're working with volunteers. And we need to know that. We need to give our volunteers grace, that it's okay. It's all right.
I mean, I remember the first event I did with you. It was a birthday party, and I told you I was going to have 50 guests.
Yes.
And we started with a reception. And you came up to me and said, Jim, I've counted 73 people. What she did, we had to rearrange the seating within a half hour. We had to move to a buffet to plate it, or else we wouldn't have enough food. And so really, event planners are miracle workers.
Well, they look at what could happen and know eventually and be able to fix it quickly. And that's what we did. We just jumped in. We knew, okay, and if I didn't have a good partner in the catering, they would have freaked out. But I had a good catering partner that I went in with the situation, and they said, no problem, let's do this, we can do it. And they shifted gears without complaining. And yeah, we went from a buffet to, okay, now here's a plate.
Yeah.
And let's go.
And I had some guests from out of town. No one had a clue.
That's right. Absolutely. Nobody has a clue. And
they say in vaudeville that the audience doesn't know you've made a mistake until you tell them.
Right. Exactly. And don't go talking about it. And that's it. Don't let them see you sweat. We talk about you're smooth as sail on the surface, but you're paddling like crazy underneath the water.
Sounds like a duck.
Exactly, and that's kind of how our industry runs. Is nobody, when you're out there, nobody knows what's going on until it's later on. So,
okay, let's start digging into the mechanics of throwing a great event. A party is only successful if attendees show up.
Correct.
Okay, so what are the best ways to tactfully remind invitees about the event and to confirm their attendance?
Well, I'd go one step before that, and that is, how are you sending out the invitation?
Let's talk about that.
And sending out an invitation, are you just doing an email blast that looks more like an advertisement, or are you personally inviting somebody? So,
well, what's personal? Is that sending out that snail mail or phone call? What's personally
whatever
inviting?
Whatever it is. I don't think it matters, as long as if you've sent an invitation out, whether it's picking up the phone inviting me, whether it's sending me an email or a email that even has my name on it, or a post snail mail card, invitation, whatever it is, make sure the person that you've sent it to knows they're invited, that it's not an advertisement. So don't just do flyers, unless that's what it is. Then, once you get to that RSVP point of, okay, we're past the date that we're supposed to have these cards in, don't feel bad about picking up the phone and just saying, hey, especially if you mailed, like, I want to make sure you receive the invitation. You don't want anybody mad at you because they didn't even get the invitation or they didn't hear about it until afterwards.
I can't tell you how many times working for nonprofits, they said, email me. You mailed it out, I don't know, a month in advance, and these are some of your best friends and donors, and they said, email me.
Right. And so you need to know your audience. That absolutely. Who are you sending it to? And is it an email? Is it a group text
Yeah.
message that says, hope to see you in tomorrow, and reminders. So know your audience is a huge part of it. And then just make sure that people personally know that they have been invited. And then make sure that they know that you need to know that number. Because
Yeah.
it is important when you come to food and alcohol.
And you got to
and all of
know,
that.
are they bringing, is it +1?
Right.
By the way, what's your advice? Do you think +1 is the standard? Or, because I think that's when you get more people than expected, when they go more aggressively than +1.
Sure, and in those RSVPs, it should say just that. You want names, and so if you get an RSVP back that says that they're bringing 10 people, then there's a question: are you okay with that? Because
Yeah.
they're bringing their entire office, and this would be fantastic for your event. Or is it, no? Wait a minute, this really is a special sit-down dinner that I'm having for.
Yeah.
10 people and they're adding another 10.
Yeah.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So that's really what you've got to look at on that. But again, picking up the phone, texting, having that personal conversation is huge, especially in the nonprofit world. Make sure people know that there's that communication there.
Yeah. Somebody that was even ahead of you, Pearl Mesta, is remembered as a Washington socialite who inspired the nickname the hostess with the mostest. There was a play and a movie starring Ethel Merman with her, and she said the key to her successful parties was in the hellos and the goodbyes. And so, what are your best ways to greet attendees so they feel special? And reversely, what are the best ways to make attendees feel special when they leave?
Well, I think part of it is, just depending on what event you're doing, is do you even have signage to make sure people know they're in the right place? That's, if you're in a big hotel ballroom and I'm lost and I don't know where I'm going, feeling lost is the worst thing.
Yeah.
Or because some will give up.
Yeah.
Looking for it. So make sure that the directions or the signage or whatever, if people know where they're going. After that, making sure somebody's greeting them. And me personally, that's where the first glass of wine should be,
Yeah.
or the first appetizer should be, is the minute they walk in, it shouldn't be.
Do you like having
And there's the
leadership
bar.
there to greet them? The CEO or the
Absolutely.
chair?
Somebody should be there. So, in a big, huge event, you may have paid entertainers
Yeah.
that are welcoming and directing traffic and that
Yeah.
type stuff. But absolutely, whether it's your president of your board or your CEO, somebody of importance should be right there at the doorway, making sure that you're making that guest feel special. And that's it right there. Make
It's
sure that
almost
guest
it's
feels
almost
special.
like a receiving line.
Absolutely.
I mean,
it
I
is.
love that,
Yeah.
particularly when it's the president, the CEO, that everybody wants to get a piece of.
Right.
And so that might be the only opportunity for them to have some personal time with every guest is when they greet them.
Right.
And I love the point you said that even greet them and ask them, what are you drinking tonight? And, hand them the glass of whatever. Which gets us to the next question. If alcoholic beverages are served, is it now acceptable to limit it to just wine and beer?
Absolutely. Don't think that wine and beer is cheaper than of alcohol, though. Just and you can talk to some professional bartenders on that one. But limiting it to wine and beer is certainly much easier to do because it's pre-mixed. It's you can pass it, you can have it ready to go as people are walking up, so it's faster to get. It also is quality control. You know what you've got
Yeah.
and how to do that. Having something is usually, most of the time is okay. Sometimes it's okay not to. Today, you must also have a non-alcoholic that's just as equivalent on that. So, whether it's a sparkling something that's non-alcoholic, make sure we're doing that. My number one for nonprofits is to make sure you have a bartending company, not volunteers, running that bar because of the liability that puts into your nonprofit.
Yeah.
And so make sure that company, and then let them take
Yeah.
that responsibility of
Well, that
making
gets
sure
perfectly the next question, but I wanted to say, I mean, I remember my parents, were the World War II generation. It was a sin if at their parties they didn't have hard liquor.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's really changed, that beer and wine is the preference. You don't see as many hard liquor drinkers as I think we did 20, 30 years ago.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, some of those bartending companies won't allow, there's lots of places don't allow shots, don't allow that hard liquor on rocks and things like that. For that reason, the liability out there now is so different than when our parents grew up, and absolutely, there's a big difference on that.
You kind of moved into this question. What's your advice on avoiding having guests drink too much?
Well, that's where that bartending company comes in, is you hire that official bartending company that has the liability, they have the licensed bartenders, they are trained to know when somebody has had too much to drink.
Really?
And so if they have what we call the TABC license here in Texas, and they legally have to cut you off.
Huh.
They don't have a choice. They must cut you off. So, but that puts the liability on them first, not on the nonprofit.
They almost have like a superpower. And said Jim and Donna's got to stop at 3 rounds or something.
You kind of figure that out. You can tell by the personalities. They'll do what they call a short pour, maybe, where they're not putting as much alcohol in there on somebody. If they realize, that person might get a little upset if I don't give them anything. So I'll, not put as much alcohol into theirs, but there just has to be a point of time for a couple of things, is that you either make the time shorter or that you're serving that alcohol, or just make sure that we are paying attention and who shouldn't we be serving at all? Do you know that?
I kind of make it tougher for you. What if the nonprofit has a stretched budget and is using its staff to serve as bartenders?
I would say that would absolutely should not happen. 100%. If you have,
just don't cut corners there.
Do not cut corners there. That is the one place, because the liability then goes onto that nonprofit. That would be the one place. Do not cut corners.
Listen to that one. Listen to that one.
That's
okay. We're going to talk about cutting other corners, but
and lots of places to do it.
Yeah.
That's not one you want to do it at.
Okay. Let's talk about cutting corners. What are munchies that you can serve to hold costs down, but not appear too cheap?
Sure. I brought this little charcuterie board that is an inexpensive one. So I don't know if you... The idea with things like this is it's just a lot of little snacks, and we've done grazing stations is what we call them, and it's the whole table filled just with this. But the whole idea is you have a few of the good expensive food, and then you fill the rest of the table with the inexpensive, like the grapes or like the crackers. And so just depending on what's in season, that's another one. What's in season, you can certainly get a lot more, or locally grown.
Okay, well, we're talking now about holiday parties. So what comes to mind?
So, the fruits, the cheeses. What is your goal? Are you trying to do a full meal? If you really are on a budget, don't think you have to feed everybody a full meal. So lots of just little snack items. My favorite's just the meats and the cheeses and the crackers type things. The mixed nuts and cranberries and raisins and that type stuff. Those things are so inexpensive. I hate to say giving plugs, but there's warehouse stores that do so many things in bulk that are really good items that all you do is put out.
Couldn't you say the more you're munching, the less you're drinking too?
Absolutely.
Okay, say you're lucky enough to have a budget that goes beyond munchies. What is your advice on serving, and I don't have a real specific here, but affordable hors d'oeuvres?
So past hors d'oeuvres to me are the best things for something that we're talking about with a nonprofit's galas or holiday parties, because first off, it's a bite. People aren't filling a plate.
Yeah.
So even if you did the mushroom caps and the little bites that are little hot items, they're so much better because you're getting it, you're eating it, and then you're moving on.
Let me challenge you. You said do not use staff to serve wine and beer. is it okay to use staff to go around with dishes of food?
Yes, if your venue allows it.
Yeah.
But just remember then, once you've got that, who's cleaning up? Do you want your staff, do you want your volunteers in the kitchen cleaning? Is that the better use of their time? Or is it getting a tip agent to do it and then using those staff and going around really introducing people and making sure that they are making the connections versus serving the food?
Let's talk about decorations. There are so many different ways to go. You were kind enough to bring this charcuterie board, and don't ask me to spell that. Can you talk a moment about decorations and possibilities?
Sure. From small budget to huge
Yeah.
budget, you can get crazy. You can absolutely get crazy. If you walked into my house today, you could see how going crazy
Yeah.
could happen. Just for the
No,
holidays.
for you, crazy is normal.
Yes, that is true. But there's so many things like battery operated candles and candles, that type of stuff that can make a room glow that costs very little money.
Yeah.
There's also many things, just depending on what venue you're at.
Yeah.
Like, what is the natural state of the venue? Use
How about
it.
we're trying, we're paying for bartenders, because I listen to
Right.
you, and we're going to do this at the nonprofit headquarters.
So make sure you have some nice tablecloths on
Okay.
your tables. Let's make sure that we don't look like we're in the cafeteria.
Hmm.
So let's make sure of that. So you've got some beautiful tablecloths, wherever they're coming from, and then make sure your space is adequate for the number of people, whether it's big or
We're going to
small.
dig in a little deeper
Okay.
in a moment on that.
And then as they walk in, if you can't spend a lot of money, give them one wow factor. One.
I like
And then whatever that may be. So again, what
Should
is
it
your
relate
theme?
to your mission, too?
Absolutely, with your mission, with the theme you're going
Yeah.
with, your photo ops. Everybody wants to
Yeah.
be Instagrammable and photo. So
Yeah.
make sure that's where you put your money.
Yeah.
What if you did your charcuterie as your centerpiece?
Yeah.
I've done cakes as centerpieces. And then everybody got into the cakes and they got to sit with whatever table they wanted the flavor of cake on. So your food could be your centerpiece and double your money there. So, and little buds of flowers are not very expensive this time of year. So there's a lot of ways of being able to do this, but you really just need to think about what is your mission and put your money there.
Yeah. Now, this one we've all endured through. Nobody wants long speeches and programs. So what are insurance policies to keep nonprofit leaders and hosts from speaking too long? You see the gray in my hair? It's from that.
I get it. Number one, you should have a show, a script,
Yeah.
and one person that is in charge of this script.
Yeah.
So if there is a speech that's being given, the person that's doing the run a show and doing this script has it ahead of time. They're able to time it. If they know it's too long, they're going back to that person and saying, wait a minute, let's cut this back. Somebody's got to be in control of the timing, the whole thing. So
Somebody's going to be a
planner-
bad cop, right?
Absolutely. And whoever that may be, whether it's a staff person or a hired person or whatever, that's what I do at weddings. I'm the one that's going through doing this, and I have taken mics away or had DJs shut it down when it gets inappropriate or too long, or you back in the room doing this. But you're right. Nobody wants to come.
And sometimes
to a
I'll tell you
party
why
and
it's
listen too much.
hard. Sometimes it is the most important person, the CEO, the biggest donor, the one that's dragging on too long.
Right. And so if that's the personality, you know it ahead of time. If that's the person that loves to go through and do that, you know it ahead of time. And so you're going to have to go to that person before and say, hey, this is what I need, but we really need to keep it down to this amount of time.
5 minutes means 5 minutes.
Right. And here's my iPad, and it's going
Yeah.
to show that cut down time, and we're on that timer, and here we go. That's easy to do and doesn't need special equipment to do. Here it is. And then make sure you're, thanking all of those and switching it out and let them know, hey, we've got to give the mic to so-and-so, and we've got to give the mic to so-and-so. We've got to share that, because it is important that person speaks, but it's also important that he doesn't overspeak, because he loses that audience real fast, and you don't want that.
Yeah. Hey, if a holiday party is going to be 90 minutes long, what is the most strategic time to plan your program?
For 90 minutes, I would go 30 minutes in and start your program. Your program probably 20 minutes, depending on what you're trying to do. But make sure people can get there, people have a drink in their hands. Again, you're going to know your crowd on that, but that's kind of my deal is with 90 minutes, that's not very long. It's an hour and a half. So that's going to be a very short program. But you don't want it too long either, that somebody's already going to come, have their drink, and I got to go because it's the holidays and I've got 3 more events to get to.
Yeah.
So you've got to kind of time it out that way.
Yeah. What is your advice on recognition of VIPs that isn't too many, but avoids leaving out those who merit recognition?
That's always a hard one.
You're not kidding.
Because you do. You want, first off, you've got that run of show, that script, so you make sure that those names are on there, and then start sharing that script with the people ahead of time to make sure you didn't leave somebody off, because that's the worst thing that you can do is leave somebody off and then, feel bad.
You got to have some criteria.
Right.
Public officials, board of directors of the nonprofit. You got to have something that's black and white to know that Jim and Donna are going to make the list or not make the list. Right.
And doing that then, again, are you giving them the mic, or are you just going to recognize them? And, that we all know that there's somebody that could go, that you hand a mic to, that could take over, and that's not what you want. So making sure that you know who you're recognizing, that they're even going to be there, making sure that they've picked up somebody's picked up the phone to say, hey, you're going to get a little recognition, or is it just somebody at the door checking off those that if they do show up, we want to make sure that hey, so-and-so's in the room type thing.
Yeah. Okay, we've all been here. This is a 90-minute event. What are tactful ways to encourage people it's time to leave?
First off, you've closed the bar. So that's
a powerful one, isn't it?
That's the most powerful one. In a 90-minute event, you probably want to close the bar 15 minutes before you completely close.
Do you give a last call?
No, I never give it a last call, because you don't want somebody to go get 3 drinks because they know it's last call.
Yeah.
So we very quietly close the bar, and then as people start walking up to get that next drink, sorry, the bar is closed. Well, they've got the hint. We're leaving. We're closing it down. But it also puts that last person that got it 15 minutes before time to drink without having to guzzle it to get it and get it out of there. But getting back and saying a thank you, making sure that thank you for coming. I love giving thank you gifts at the end.
We're going to dig in a little deeper on that one.
So just making sure that that's a good way to say, okay, it's over with. Here, thank you, and on out.
Here's another one, and no, I'm jumping in sequence here.
That's all right.
But what's your advice on handling leftovers?
So we personally at Lambermont have a good relationship with our fire department. And so if we
They're real close by, aren't they?
Very close by, right around the corner. And, they know my house and all of that. So we take leftovers to the fire department. There's now an organization, a little small group of people out at St. Philip's College in the culinary that's starting to.
I know that program well.
Yes, so they're now. You can call them, they'll pick up leftovers, and they are turning it into almost a Meals on Wheels for the homeless. So to me, that's huge, to be able to do that. Obviously, there's going to be some that, is it going to go back to the office the next day because we'll have lunch the next day at the office type thing. So it's always asking the host what they want done with the food.
Okay, we were sort of hinting at this before. Which do you prefer? It's not a perfect world, okay? Very large spaces that give people plenty of room, but might make it look like it's a poorly attended event, or a smaller space in which people are going to be more crowded, but will give the appearance of a strongly attended event.
Personally, the smaller. Make it packed.
Give me a fist.
Yeah,
I'm definitely there.
I
I hate large,
Yeah.
empty rooms.
Yeah, yeah, because it's exactly where is everybody? Nobody
Yeah.
showed up. So if you end up with a large room and and then know your attendance is getting smaller, but you've rented this big room, cut it in half. Don't feel bad that you're on there. You know, whether it's fake walls, curtains, decorations, whatever. Make sure that people can't spread out too thin. You want people to have that interaction.
Yeah.
And the closer they are, the more we have to share a table for our drinks, the more conversations are going to happen.
Yeah, that's exactly the way I feel.
Yeah.
Because the people who come to this event in this huge room, you know what they're going to talk about? Where is everyone?
Everybody?
Yeah, yeah. Hey, while we're on, this is a tough topic, but what's your recommendations on selecting a venue?
Well, of course, come to Lambermont, but
Yeah.
no. And I'm not the right person for everybody. But all these things that we talked about with, you know, are you going to supply your own food? Well, that may determine on where you go because some people can't do, at some venues you can't do that. The alcohol, are you serving alcohol? That might make a decision. So there's all those questions we talked about. Sizing, if I only have 100 people coming, I don't want to be in a 500-person ballroom. So there's a lot of different things that go into choosing a venue, but make sure it's the right one for you. I mean, that's the whole thing. You know.
Let's dig a little deeper there. What makes it, I'm thinking again, we're not going to cut corners and, have non-professional bartenders. But what hits me is showing off the nonprofit. Because you want people to know where you are, to visit you. What do you see advantages and disadvantages of using your nonprofit headquarters?
Well, I was just going to say, if that's the goal, absolutely. I mean, if you want people, you need people in there to see what your mission is and that this is where their money is going to or whatever. There's no problem. There shouldn't be an issue with that. You know, if you're not out there trying to raise money for this particular event, that's because this isn't the fundraiser, this is the thank you holiday party. Having it in if you have the capability, so many of the nonprofits are in, a little bit of cubicle someplace, but if you have the idea place to be able to come in and show off what you do, or show off even
what do you think
work
about,
you do at some other
what
place.
What do you think about, you have a pretty good sized conference room, but then a lot of people are encouraged to kind of move around and see other offices.
So mine would be is, first off, are you only inviting those that work in that office already?
No.
Or are you inviting people that from outside your donors or all of that?
Let's say outside.
Yeah. So if you do that, then you almost may make it a scavenger hunt. Where they have to move office to office because you want them to go meet this person and meet this person.
They
move
really
around.
learn about the organization that way.
Right. And the people that run the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, my office has personal pictures in it. Your office, I bet, does too. And so, things like that, that it could be. Like, say, that scavenger hunt, moving people around is okay. But what is the goal of your event?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing is.
Yeah. You hinted this before. If you have a little extra money, what is your thinking on gifts to take home?
In the wedding industry these days, that to-go gifts are almost, nobody's doing them anymore.
How come?
How
come?
Because they're a waste of money on most times. Most people were going to take them home. Nobody wants a shot glass or a koozie with your name on them anymore. So I think you need to be, what a lot of people are going to, though, are the edible. Something that they can...
Piece of cake?
A piece of cake.
Piece of wedding cake.
Milk and cookies on for your way home, or if you're back in a hotel room, or the snack for the next day. So a lot of people are going into that. You want somebody to say thank you. I had an event yesterday, and we passed out very individual pecan pies, and our comment was,
My wife would love that.
yes, yeah, and it was a little something sweet for you to remember us by when you get home, because we want a sweet review from you.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of the idea. So whatever it is needs to be the message that you want them to be remembering and talking about when they go home. I've had one that it was all valet parking.
Yeah.
So when the valet company came around, they had put a rose with a thank you for coming in every car. So then it was like, what's going to be they thought about me.
I want to
They were
steal
glad.
that one.
Yes, steal it. It's absolutely.
Sounds
and
great.
the whole idea is you want people to feel special. How are you going to make them feel
Yeah, I was
special?
going to Sue. Part of it is it's in the hellos and goodbyes.
Yes.
What are your suggestions? That's one on the presentation of this little gift.
It really kind of depends on that, but it should be the surprise, the element of surprise, like getting into the car thinking you're ready to go
Yeah.
home, or the next day, or what it might be in the mail even, that thank you note. The element of surprise is the biggest part of it all. But, do you want a little jar of something that might,
Yeah.
The honey because you're so sweet or whatever it is, make sure that they know you've done something for them and that you really do appreciate that they're there.
And it is a surprise.
Right.
That's great. Hey, in the post-COVID era, are there any health measures that we all have to deal with now that we didn't before COVID?
Thank God we're not doing the masks anymore.
Yeah.
There's definitely things like we're sitting here. We don't have lapel mics on right now because of the COVID situation, and that they've shifted gears to that. The whole concept between all of that is, we're still not packing people into the boardrooms type thing anymore. There's just so many different ways of doing things these days that has taken away from making sure our personal contacts have gone away, and we got to get back to that. Is that I think because for 3 years we haven't been doing it, that the people that have been trained previous kind of got, okay. So we need to get back to some of the ways before COVID. I mean, yes, we've learned a lot of lessons, but we need to get back to some of those.
Donna, it's not unexpected, but you're doing a beautiful job of managing time. So watch out. Jim's going to throw in some extra questions.
Okay.
And, you don't have to answer them, but you have been supervising over 1,000 events. Is there any one event or two that stands out that was really surprising or unusual? Something happened. And by the way, I am completely putting her on the spot.
In all the ones I have done, I will say I was not surprised on this one because I was informed ahead of time. But a whole group of people were invited to an engagement party.
Yeah.
And when they got there, they found out that they were not there for an engagement party. They were there for a wedding. And the couple actually got married there. So they were being greeted by the couple as they got in there. And then it was like, we'll be back in a few minutes. And they came back dressed in a wedding gown and tuxedo and got married. So
How did that go over, by the way?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. People loved it. And you were talking about a favor. Their little favor was a CD at the time of all the wedding music they had already just played. And then with their pictures on it. And everybody got that CD with their music as a thank you for coming. So it was myself and the parents and the maid of honor was the only one that knew about it. Everybody else was
How big of a
surprised.
group was this?
It was 80 people.
Pretty good
So
size.
yeah, and so it was what we call that in between intimate wedding and a big wedding. But yeah, it was a nice little
Reminds me,
surprise.
Andrea and I knew a couple. It was about 7 years before we married. And so we always I hug people who took longer than 7 years. and we knew a military couple that wasn't married but was together like 25 years, and they were in their 60s, and they invited us to a party, and they announced they just had been married.
Yeah,
It was sort of that.
kind of
And
like that one.
everybody was just spellbound.
Yep, yep. You know, we could write a whole book on all the things that have gone wrong or things that are surprised us. You know, I've had one that a father of a groom showed up that was not invited and right at speech time and grabbed a mic. And that was one of those that I said, when I can take a mic away. I literally just grabbed a mic and kept going. And just kind of like, and then he was escorted out. So there's always surprises. And the whole idea behind what we do is don't let everybody know that.
Do you enjoy the movie The Wedding Planner starring Jennifer Lopez and what was that, Matthew McConaughey?
You know,
How much truth was in there?
none. You know,
You know any wedding planners that fell for whatever their clients?
I do not.
Yeah.
You know, and that's been around forever and ever. And of course, you know, I've been called J-Lo for
Yeah.
all that. And it's like, I wish I had somebody else to be able to talk to on the other side of a mic. You know,
Yeah.
no, I'm here by myself. So no, I've never been able to do that. And don't quite relate on a lot of those wedding shows, but love watching them. Just, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my laugh and that's my entertainment.
Yeah, that was a good movie.
It was a good movie.
A happy ending too. Okay, I know a complaint I have when I go somewhere with Andrea. She says things are too loud. Okay.
Yes.
And it makes us feel like old fogies. Okay. But what are your suggestions on having entertainment that's enjoyable, but is not going to be too loud?
Well, there's two aspects of that. You don't want anybody to walk into what we call dead air that's silent. So you've got to make sure there's something going on.
Like,
Background music,
Yeah.
or, you know, it depends on, again, what you're trying to do. You know, I'm like you, I don't want that loud band. Save that for later on if that's what you want to do, so the old fogies like us can leave by that
Yeah.
time. But, you know, having somebody singing, and again, what's your mission? Is it,
Yeah.
you know, is it the elementary school next door? To me, it's St. Paul's. It has a beautiful choir. Can they be singing and being my entertainment? Is it just that little bit? There should always be sound. I love a guitar player playing acoustics. I love, you know, or a keyboard.
and what's that sweet spot between loud enough but not too loud?
Well, my goal is I want to have a conversation with you. If
Yeah.
I can't have a conversation with you, then I'm going to a concert.
I mean, can you test that ahead of time?
Oh, sure, absolutely, absolutely. And also pay attention to the audience. If it's getting too loud and people are getting too close because, you know, doing this, turn it down, pay attention to that. Same thing with your AC. If everybody's over there shaking, turn the AC up, or sweating. But with that music, it really, there is that fine line. From too loud, again, that could be later in the evening. If you want everybody dancing,
Yeah.
then you're getting up to that. But if you want everybody talking,
Right.
make sure people can talk over that music and
Yeah.
that's not taken over.
Yeah. And sometimes, too, there's the ego of the musicians. You know, say you paid some good money for a name group and you want to let them do their thing, but again, your primary purpose is to make your guests feel special and have the opportunities to have conversations and all. Everything's a balancing act, huh?
Well, absolutely. And so that should be the conversation with the group before you hire them even.
Yeah.
You know, this is a cocktail party where we want people to intermingle.
Yeah.
This is not a concert. This is not a dance. This is a cocktail party. And so are you even the right person to be doing this? You know, we just had an event with a 20-piece mariachi band, and we had to move it indoors because of the weather.
Help me. I don't think they're always kind of on the loud side.
They are
With
very
all
loud.
due respect to them.
And so everything stopped for that hour.
Yeah.
And it became an amazing show, but that's what it was. It became a show. And if you're okay with that, then that's
Yeah.
who it comes. But if you're just needing the background music where we can talk, make sure that's who you're hiring. You don't need 20-piece band and pay for that.
Let's talk a little
or
more on
background
that.
music and don't even have to have live.
Because we can't save money on not having a professional bartender. But, you know, where's the balance between having live entertainment and just having a wonderful virtual program?
In a 90-minute program that you were talking about,
Yeah.
piped in music. There's no reason to have a live unless that's who's greeting the guest or
Yeah.
exiting the guest.
That's how you can afford your bartenders. Cut there.
Cut there, yeah, because, and DJs or whatever. Now, do you need the mic system from a DJ? Do you need them introducing people? Things like that. But if it's just background music that you're wanting to not have dead air, no, you don't have to have all that equipment.
Yeah.
Find a venue, because you know that has the background music for you at no charge.
Let's put a little more pressure on you, okay? Or whoever is going to be you in absentia at this event. Who should pick what type of music? How do you determine what type of music genre is going to be a good fit for your event?
Know your audience. Who are
Yeah.
you inviting?
Are we talking age there? Are we talking profession? Are we talking other demographics?
Yes, all of it. You know, what is your goals? When you're planning the event at the very beginning, is what are your goals? Who's your audience? What's that demographic? And do you need to switch things up?
Yeah.
Does it need to be a little different? Or if you're only doing a 90-minute, this is what we're doing, and then, maybe we take that smaller group of executives to dinner somewhere else type thing. Just know that audience.
And you might divide them into subgroups, right? It could be
Right.
something everyone, and there might be your board of directors or your largest donors or whoever your VIPs are.
Right.
That are continuing, after the 90 minutes in a private setting.
Right. We have had a group that has come through, and they do it like a progressive dinner almost, that they started at Lambermont for their cocktail party. And then from there, they're divided up. They don't know where they're going to dinner. They're going to dinner at somebody's home.
I love it.
And
Element of surprise, right?
exactly. And 8 people, you're assigned to this house. 8 people, and then they have vehicles that take them to these homes and chefs that are building that. That is an amazing one. So yeah, it's like, okay, everybody together, but those 8 people are chosen very carefully of what 8 people or 10 people or whatever it is, and who that host is very, very carefully chosen.
I love that you brought up progressive dinners. Help me, I thought they were more common maybe 20 years ago.
They are, but
You see them coming back?
yeah, oh, absolutely.
And do
they-
you see millennials buying into it?
You do, but they have transportation. That's the biggest difference. Where it used to be, way back when, we were driving and drinking
Yeah.
and doing all of
And
that.
getting lost.
And getting lost and all of that, absolutely. So the ones that are happening now are either in small neighborhoods, like we do it with our neighborhood, and we're walking from
Yeah.
house to house, and we start with, the appetizers and end with desserts, with everything in between, and fun games at the end. Now this one, and it's not really a progressive dinner because it's from just appetizers to the dinner, but it is coming back. It's just, what can we do that's so different?
Yeah.
Everybody's tired of the same old, same old.
I can't remember the last time I saw an invitation for a progressive dinner. Guess what? I'm going to steal that one.
There we go. Let's do it.
Yeah, no, really. It's time to come back to the progressive dinner. We talked before about board members,
Yes.
and they really should be the heart and soul of the nonprofit. What are appropriate roles for board members at a party?
Well, we talked about, it may not be the CEO at the door,
Yeah.
but the board. Connectors. To me, the board members need to be the connectors. If they see 2 people that need to meet, they need to make sure they're the ones
And
introducing to people.
you never want to see one person standing alone.
Absolutely, and that's that board member's job, is to make sure if you see somebody standing alone that is not just waiting for somebody getting their drink from the bar, you need to make sure that they are getting introduced to somebody and mixing and mingling with them. That is huge in a nonprofit setting, so absolutely.
Is your experience that board members like being given responsibilities?
Yes, yes. They'd rather, especially those introverts that would rather be standing in the corner unless they had a job. And so those are the ones that really give them the job, give them something to do, so they have reasons to have to do it.
Yeah. I think it makes a great statement for someone to walk up, Donna, I'm serving on this board of directors, and we're just so delighted you're joining us tonight.
Yes.
You know, it makes a strong statement. You might expect a staff person is paid to say that, but a board member is not.
That's correct. That is correct. And to me, that's part of your job of being in the board. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, expected to be there and expected to be greeting people and connecting people.
Yeah. Well, you're doing such a beautiful time and managing time. I'm coming up with a few more questions, but I can learn from you, and the audience can learn from you. Let's talk about gender roles. Are there certain roles more appropriate for men and women, or are those lines completely disappearing?
Disappearing.
What's an example? Say in our parents' time, you know, a man would only do this or a woman would only do that. And now it makes no difference.
You know, you've thrown me on this one, Jim, just because
Good.
I am.
It's the first time in 5 minutes I've thrown you.
I'm such an independent woman, and my husband is such, and he's a very strong personality, but that lets me go and do what I want to do. And so we just have never had those roles. I would be very offended, you know, the story I'm going to go back on this story. I was, at the time, had to learn typing and in high school, and I literally turned up and said, I don't need to take typing because I'm not going to be a secretary.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a secretary. And of course, little did I know, here came computers after that,
Yeah.
and I needed to know how to type. But I've always had in my mind that, you know, I'm going to be a business person, and so the gender has never been, there's never been roles in my family that are male or female. It's just been, here's the roles, and who's going to take it because of our personalities or our skills. And I think that right there in a nonprofit is the skills. Mm-hmm. What skills is that person bringing to the table, and make sure you're using those skills appropriately. The worst thing to do is to give somebody, and demeaning is not the right word, but that's it. You know, I had volunteered to help at an event that handed me a vacuum cleaner, and I vacuumed for 2 hours at an event because they never asked me what my talent was. And
boy, did they waste their...
Exactly.
You.
Exactly. It was a waste, you know, and I did it because it needed to be done. But they never asked what my talent was or what my treasures are. And so I think that right there goes back to that, is there might be people on your board or your volunteers that may have some amazing talents. That may be who's out there greeting because they're an amazing entertainer. But if you don't ask, you're not going to find out.
Let me do another overtime question with you, which I think is a little more appropriate. When is it appropriate that really it should be a couple attending, be it a married couple or, you know, a special relationship? And when is it okay for people to attend by themselves?
I attend by myself all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And is that because your husband just can't put up with all those events?
A lot of that, you know, a lot of that is. He is my introvert, and in my family, he tells me he'll give me 2 a year, and if I say I need you at this event, he will be there because he knows it's one of my 2 or whatever. And I only ask. He's not comfortable in those situations, and I never would have put him into a situation that he's uncomfortable. Where I am, I'm a butterfly. I'm going to go in and I'm going to know everybody.
I think that's a good example. During our parents' time, I think it would have been tougher for a woman to go to a fairly special event by herself, okay? And now it's no big deal. like it's no big deal for a gentleman to go to an event
Right.
by himself.
Right. And again, many parents are dividing and conquering with children.
Yeah.
And so, no, you're going to go to that because I got to go take the kids. So don't ever feel bad about going, as an
Yeah.
attendee. And of course, most of the events in my industry, I'm not walking into a room full of strangers.
Yeah.
I'm going to already know somebody, or if not almost the whole place. So that's just not an unusual thing anymore.
And I think the hosts, like the board members and the leadership of the nonprofit, they should keep an eye out if Donna or Jim come in by themselves. Okay,
right.
Pay more attention to them rather than a couple can they have each other talk, and just sometimes, whether we like it or not, it's easier for couples to mix than someone arriving individually.
Oh, sure. Again, that connection. So if you're showing up by yourself, yeah, if it's somebody that doesn't know anybody in the room, absolutely make sure you're doing those introductions. But, and also that's when you want to look at how are they getting to vehicles? How far are they having to get to the vehicles?
What is
and
this
things
way?
like that.
You're moving right into the next question, okay? And what's your rule of thumb about parking and how close it needs to be to the party venue?
I think it's going to depend on your clientele again.
Yeah.
Who's coming? Do you have a bunch of people in walkers, and do we have enough handicap parking and things like that? Or what's your demographic? Are you in New York City where everybody's used to walking?
Yeah.
Or are we, in San Antonio downtown or out in the hill country type thing? So there's not a set rule of thumb on that, but make sure that they're comfortable. Keep in mind, what are they wearing? Are they in high heel? Are the women in high
Yeah.
heels? They're not going to walk very far.
Yeah.
They don't want to. So if the parking is far away, do you have valet? Whether you're providing it at no additional cost or they're paying for the valet.
And I think
is it
a
available?
word called Uber has made a difference. And I give
Absolutely.
credit to the millennial and Gen Z who said, I'm going to go out and party, and that means drinking a lot.
Yep.
And they're depending a lot on an Uber or a Lyft
Sure.
or one of those services.
And when you're looking at venues, make sure that they have an area that
Mm-hmm.
they can pick up and drop off on that, and that's not an issue.
Yeah. Okay, we're managing time. We're getting to the last couple questions. Okay, if less people than expected show up, how do you handle that?
To me, on that one, don't panic.
Yeah.
Make it okay, and just make.
How do you not panic, by the way?
No. You don't. And again, you can panic underneath, but don't let them see you sweat. Just make sure that people that are there are feeling special. I mean, I just keep saying that, and so it doesn't matter. It's okay. It's okay that it's small. Worry about it the next day of why they didn't come.
Let's flip
and
that
figure
around.
out.
What if a lot more people show up than what's expected?
Then you go back and talk to your caterer and figure
Yeah.
out how we're going to do that. But and you might start pulling in more volunteers. Our people that you didn't think. Maybe you had signed a board member to just stand at the door and go, hey, I need you to do this now because there's more people here. Can you run out and get more ice for me or whatever? So know what your standby is. Know the plans ahead of time. That's the big part of it.
And just as we expected, this hour has flown by, and we want to express our gratitude and appreciation again to Dona Liston. This is the 5th time she's done a live or virtual program, saying like being a Saturday Night Live host. She's the single member of the 5-time club, so congratulations. And in our world, you certainly rank as the planner with the mostest, okay?
Thank you.
And we're going to show her contact information on the screen. And we want to give our sincere thanks to everyone in our virtual learning community made up of volunteer and professional nonprofit leaders, and everything you do to touch, improve, and save more lives. And we're looking forward to an exciting lineup of speakers and topics in our 2024 webinar series. And warning, spoiler alert, we're going to invite Dona Liston. So be well, and all the best from the Eskin fundraising training family to our nonprofit friends for a healthy, joyous, and rejuvenating holiday season. and best of luck in raising a lot of money during this generous season for your noble causes that improve the world. Donna, give me a fist bump. Thank you.
Thank you.